Hello and thanks for stopping by. This is the Evercade Versus console from Blaze Entertainment, released in 2022. I ordered this one at least a year back and it just showed up, so I thought I'd give it a look. This is the console version of the Evercade handheld, which is actually a way better handheld than I originally expected. I have a decent selection of carts for that particular system, and most of these carts should actually work on this console. Not all, apparently. I know there's some licensing stuff that has to get worked out to make sure that all these carts can be compatible with both systems. I guess when you license a particular property, usually that licensing fee is based on how you're going to use the particular video game. And in this case, if it was originally a licensing contract for a handheld, and suddenly you release a console version, well, as you would imagine, some paperwork has to be signed to make that happen. So hopefully that'll happen in the near future. So I bought this particular set, and it came with 2 cartridges. And then I ordered the first 2 cartridges that they actually released past this. That would be the Atari and the Galico collections. Or Galico. I don't know how you say that. Who knows? I think the biggest difference between the handheld system and the Versus console is that, for this system, the games that they are including with these particular carts are supposed to be the arcade versions of the games. So the Atari cartridge for the Versus system here, it has different types of games compared to the one that's made for the handheld. The handheld focuses on console version of ROMs. First off, it's nice to be able to dump virtual quarters into a game and play an arcade game as much as you want. This, I think, makes the Versus system really unique compared to some of the other consoles out there. Yeah, there are collections out there, of course, but these are designed to be the arcade ROMs. I think that's awesome. So this console comes pretty well packed, and it's in a pretty box. Now, I'm on the fence when it comes to this sort of thing. Yes, you need to display your product favorably so people want to buy it, take it down off a shelf, but I hate the fact that the packaging is all just sort of wasted junk. I don't tend to keep many boxes for products unless they're sturdy, maybe they have a useful shape and can be reused. I got some Commodore 64 boxes recently. These are pretty sturdy and they're in a good shape. I can use these, but for this one, well, it's pretty, but man, I don't have a lot of shelf space, so I don't know if this box is going to hit the recycling center or not. When it comes to the console itself, it's actually smaller than I expected. By comparison, it's close in size to the C64 Mini, at least in length, and it's definitely smaller than the NES Mini. This has 4 USB ports in the front for controllers, and it also has an LED light in the front that lights up when you turn it on, so you know that it's active. The system comes with 2 wired controllers. The cables are pretty long here, which is great, but wireless controllers, of course, would certainly be better. Actually, an external arcade stick would probably be best. It would at least give a more arcade feel when you're playing actual arcade game versions. I know the console is still new, and I'm sure people are going to be testing out a whole bunch of different controllers with the console over time, just to see what works and what doesn't. The system has 2 cartridge slots, so you can have 2 carts plugged in at once, which is kind of unique and actually pretty convenient. When you have these carts plugged in, the games will all display on the game menu for you to select whatever game you want. Each cartridge you buy comes with multiple games. Sometimes it's only 4 or 5, and sometimes it's actually a lot more than that. This particular Atari cartridge has the arcade versions of Millipede, Lunar Lander, and a whole bunch of good stuff. I think the carts are also pretty inexpensive overall. I mean, a standard cart is going to run you about $20. That's pretty good. Now, the system boots fairly fast, and you can get into playing games reasonably quick. The Technos cart has Double Dragon 2 and 3 on it. That's pretty awesome. I popped it in, and Double Dragon 2 was the first game that I gave a try. It looks great. Obviously, it's the arcade version. Can't really get more authentic than that, can you? I guess I also learned that I've never really been good at Double Dragon games. I mean, I popped this one in and got my ass handed to me pretty darn quick. It's a button masher for sure. I also gave this wrestling game a try. I never played it before, but hey, it's nice enough. It's what you'd expect from an arcade wrestling game, I suppose. I also checked out Millipede, and I'm happy to see that the gameplay screen actually has the same shape as the arcade console. I know a lot of the old arcade screens tended to be taller as opposed to wide, and this references that really well. I was also pretty psyched to open up Crystal Castles. I'm a huge fan of Crystal Castles. I used to play that in the arcade all the time, and I can't say I got particularly far, but I really love the game. But in this instance, the handling just isn't that great. Using a gamepad is doable, I guess, but the arcade version had a trackball. I would love to be able to play this one with the trackball. That'd be awesome. I also gave Lunar Lander a try too, mostly because it's an arcade classic, and after loading it, I guess I realized I don't think I've ever actually played this one before. I mean, I heard a ton about it because it's pretty famous, but then I just blew up a couple of different lander ships, so I guess I'm not much of a lunar pilot. The controllers, they match the styling of the console like you'd expect, and they get this gray button in the center, and that references the main console functions like reset, return to menu, that stuff. It's useful to have that. It's easy to find. They got plenty of buttons on the controllers, and this I'm sure compensates for a ton of different games. But the controllers just feel okay. They just aren't comfortable like an Xbox or PlayStation controller. Certainly functional and more comfortable than a standard arcade stick, I guess, but I don't know, when you play arcade games, you probably expect that arcade controller feel. I guess this is passable. I think my first impressions of this overall is that this thing is actually pretty cool, and I'm liking the fact that I have a console that wants to give me original arcade games. That's pretty great. Well, that's all I have today for the Evercade Versus system. I'm sure I'm going to start reviewing some of these games soon, and I'm obviously going to have to keep an eye out for some of the upcoming cartridges. Thanks for stopping by to take a look at this one, and if you like this sort of thing, please feel free to like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and I hope to catch you on another video.